Wow, today is a great show. I got one of my favorite guests, and she's got a new book out. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Wellness Week Live. Don't forget, hit that like and subscribe. And you want to share this episode with somebody you know and love because it's a great topic. And our special guest is Dr. Sharon. Dr. Sharon, how are you? Thank you for coming on Wellness Week Live.
Well, thank you, Anthony. It's always great to talk to you. So I'm great.
Oh, awesome. Now, don't forget, folks, we're just two friends talking. We're not giving any medical or legal advice. So always check with your healthcare or legal professionals. This is a show, a conversation. So, okay, Doc, you had, I found out that you have a brand new book out, 8 Signs of Toxic Friendship. And I said, wow, we got to have you on. I think that is apropos to health and wellness. I would make the argument that our relationships are more important, in my opinion, than what we eat and how much we exercise. If you have healthy relationships with your friends, family, colleagues, loved ones, that's an ace card. I mean, obviously you want to eat right, exercise, but I would say those take a second and third role to the connections that we have. It's so important. So again, thank you for making the time to come on. So let me ask you, Doc, what made you want to write this book?
So I will definitely tell you that in one sec. But one of the things is that friendships are the key to a long, healthy life, even more than marriages, even more than parents and children. They have documented it, and people who have good friendships live longer lives, longer, healthier lives than other people. If someone is sick in the hospital, if the wife or husband comes to see them, that's great. But if a friend comes to see them, you see a bump in their vital signs. They get healthier. So friendships are a really important thing, and more than we've given credit to over the years. We hear about love relationships all the time, parent-child, but talking about friendships has been kind of new. As a matter of fact, several years ago, I was part of a group that was out at Jack Canfield's out in California. We were all mental health professionals. And we were talking about things that happened. And I mentioned that I'd been ghosted by a friend. And, I had been keeping a journal about it. So I was writing about it a bit. And Jack said, well, I've never really talked about this before. But when I was in my middle 20s, I lost my best friend who couldn't be friends with me anymore because of a political issue.
Oh, boy.
And so he was at some kind of a healthcare practitioner who was working on his neck and his shoulders. And the guy was kind of intuitive. And he said to Jack, "What happened to you when you were 25?"
Hey.
Jack, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Something happened when you were 25." And then he recalled what happened with his friend, and he hadn't told anyone about it because it's not cool
Right.
to be upset about a friend, right?
Right,
Not
right.
like your wife or whatever.
Right, right.
And he worked it through. He actually cried about it in this session, and the pain went away. And he'd had it for over 25 years.
Wow. You hit on something. I think especially us men, right? Generally speaking, supposed to be tough. Shut up. Don't complain. Oh, you lost your little friend. Whoop de doo. It's okay if a woman has a problem with a friend, but not us men. No, because we're not human. So yeah, I think you hit on something. And they say that there's 2 parts in the world where people live the longest, healthiest lives: the blue zones, which is southern Greece and southern Japan.
Right.
And aside from the food, and they always walk every day and exercise, actually the underlying, the underpinning is they have good friendship connections.
I love
More
that.
so in these 2 spots on earth than anywhere else in the world. So when you have those friendship connections, yes, that is a big, big help to keep you healthy and living longer too. So
I'm not wanting to live. I mean,
well, right. Listen, we all know people. I know plenty of people who are in they're pretty young too, in their 60s, or 70s, 80s, 90s, and they want to die because they have no more friends. A
exactly.
lot of their family is gone, but they have no friends. And the people that I know who are healthy and happy at 80 and 90 and 100, they have friends. They do stuff. I just was at a 5K fun run in somewhere in New Jersey, and 2 men were in their late 80s, early 90s, and they ran this 5K. That was impressive, but what was more impressive was their friends around them. They had friends. It wasn't so much that they were exercising. It was that they had this runners group that they were a part of. And no wonder they were able to run this 5K. Obviously you have to exercise it right. But that friendship connection, I think it's more important than family sometimes. I mean, family's important, but I would make the argument to your point. Friendship is, if not as important, maybe more important possibly. But okay, so what made you want to write the book though? Like what came across that you had to write this book?
So when this all happened with Jack, and I saw the healing power of him just telling the story.
Now, Jack is your husband, boyfriend, friend?
Jack Canfield.
Oh, Jack Kemp. I'm sorry.
The one who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. You were saying the first name, like, okay, very good.
Right. Yeah. He's become a friend. So
okay.
I call him Jack. And so it became really, I became very aware that this was a bigger problem. And also I treat people, and people would come in and talk about friendship breakups, and I experienced my own. And there were a lot of patterns, things that happened that were similar in a toxic friendship. And I use the word toxic because people feel sick from it. They feel sick emotionally, they feel sick physically. And they're not supposed to talk about it for the reasons you said before. It's just a friend, get over yourself. What's a big deal?
Right.
But it's a huge deal.
Right.
And so what I wanted to do was share some of the signs. There were more than 8, but these were 8 that I've heard from everyone.
Big ones. Yeah. Yeah. Now, Doc, what is your background? Because I just so people understand, like, so you're just for the people watching who don't know who you are. What is it that is your background that puts you in line with this type of book?
So I'm a market researcher by profession for many years. And at the same time, I was seeing patients, as a therapist. I'm a PhD psychologist. And I'm always fascinated by behavior and attitudes and how they work together and how people make choices. And so I think you're going to think this is crazy. I have personally interviewed over 60,000 people since I was 18 years old.
I believe that. I mean, hey, you are an adult, so you're okay. So Doc, so what are some signs? Because, what are the 8 signs briefly? So let's rattle them off from 1 to 8.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you them real quick, but just remember, this is what's going wrong. What was going right originally was that kind of shared special heart connection. They laugh together. They tell each other like very personal secrets that they would never tell anybody else, not even their spouses. They feel truly connected. They had something very special going on. And then all of a sudden it starts changing. So, for example, all of a sudden you might feel like your friend is talking about their other best friend who does things with them you can't do. So there's a sense of competition where you feel one down. There's an imbalance in talk time. So you're with them or you're on the phone with them, and interestingly, they're doing all the talking, you're doing all the listening. And then when you want to tell them something, they say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I gotta go." And they're off. They're off and running, and there wasn't time for you. And then when they do talk to you in a way that they're showing interest, there'll be some brutal honesty, like, I don't think you should wear that dress. I think that is like the ugliest dress I've ever seen. Like,
right.
Really? Where did that come from? Or,
right.
Don't you think you should lose about 30 or 40 pounds? Like, excuse me.
Yeah, passive aggressive, kind of undermining, nipping at people. Yeah.
Right. And then you find yourself wanting to make sure everything's okay. So you might be texting or calling, and it seems like you're doing more of that than the other person.
Right.
And
a one-way street seems like, yeah.
Exactly. So, and here's a good one. Not only do they criticize you, like, lose the 30 pounds, they say, listen, if you don't change, you're going to lose your boyfriend. If you don't change, you're going to lose your job. If you don't change, like, why would I want to hang out with you? And it's like, really?
Yeah, crapping on the person. Right. Right. Okay.
And so you feel like you're walking on eggshells and, afraid of making a mistake. And then because of that, you're thinking about that person all the time. It's hard to concentrate on the rest of your life. And this happens to everyone. It doesn't matter how smart you are, how emotionally intuitive you are. It happens to everyone when they're being slighted by someone that they trusted.
Right.
And so it feels like you're on an emotional roller coaster. So when your friend is in a good mood with you, oh my God, life's terrific. When your friend is dissing you or like, must be your fault that something's wrong, then your self-esteem plummets.
Right. Yeah. And I think, you touch on something, and this is, I think, it's so hard. Look, we're all humans, and I think sometimes people who are toxic, and we've all had people in our lives that are toxic, or we do have people in our lives that are toxic, friends, family, colleagues. They're not Hitler, they're not evil, but they mean well, maybe, and maybe they have issues in their own heart and mind, and they're not aware of. For instance, I have people that I know that are friends, and I hear through the grapevine like this person is, kind of passive aggressively putting down the other friend, and I'm like, that person's jealous. It's hard, and I know I've had this problem too. It's hard to have a success and share that with people, because sometimes people get envious, and people who are envious or even jealous, they're not bad people, but oh, you got the new house, or you got the new girlfriend or boyfriend, or you lost the 30 pounds, or you're going on vacation, or and I would say, unfortunately, you have to be careful who you share your happiness with and success with. And I'm talking about even family. Like, it's sad because a true friend would rejoice
in your success.
And say, oh my God, I'm so happy for you that you're with this person. Even if you in your mind don't think that that's a great match, you shut up. Hey, you're happy for you, or you won the lottery, or you graduated college. Amazing. I think very few people can truly be happy for another person, and I think sometimes family's the worst. I mean, but I think a true friend, just celebrates their friend, in their accolades, but I think there's, when people slight the other, I think because they're deep down envious or jealous or want that, whatever that is, again, doesn't have to be money related.
Or they might be getting back at you for nothing that has to do with you. It might be getting back at someone else in their lives that hurt them, and they finally have someone who can take it.
Correct. Yeah, they shit on the people who are closest to them as a punching bag, when they should really, go address it with the person they have a problem with, or talk to a therapist. Oftentimes we hurt the people who are closest to us. And
so you know what? I want to say something about that, because I've been thinking about that lately.
Right.
And I think sometimes we feel like, oh, if you really know me, you'll love me no matter what. And so I could share my dirty laundry. I could share, ways I'm not perfect. But this is what I believe wholeheartedly. The more I care about someone, the more I want to be good to them.
Right.
And, if I really have something painful I need to share, maybe I should share it with somebody else, and not have to be with them in a way that might make them feel bad.
Right.
And so I want them to feel good. I want us to feel good together.
Yeah.
And it's not like you have to take me just because you love me.
Right. Or, Doc, I don't know what you think about this, but we've all been in this position before, and none of us are perfect. I'm sure I've let people down, or I made people disagree with me. Like you mentioned your friend who is no longer friends with the other person because of a political thing. Like, I've had conversations with friends where, I've told them, and they've told me, hey, Anthony, I disagree with you. I don't like your opinion on this, or I don't like what you did, but I love you, Ant. I'm here for you. I'm your friend. That is a lot versus kind of passive aggressively, oh, you shouldn't do that. God wouldn't like that, or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like I've had those conversations with friends where I say, dude, I disagree with you. This is not cool, but I love you. I'm ride or die. We're friends no matter what, but I just want to let you know, I'm not down with this and that. and I hope that they would do the same
Right.
to me, you know.
Right. Right. So that's
That's a hard, but that's a mature person to say that. And I'm not saying I'm ultimately mature, but I tell people, like, I think to myself, what would I like to be told if I was messing up somehow? I wouldn't want someone to, I want someone to clarify and qualify, say, hey, I love you, Anthony, you know, and then crap on me. You know what I mean? Like I call it like the crap sandwich. Start off with I love you, give me the bad news, and then end with I love you. Like,
right.
you know, like I
Right.
think that's better than just this passive aggressive, like, oh, you bought those shoes. They don't look good on. I would never buy those shoes. Like, yeah,
Right.
I don't know. It just, yeah. So people do that stuff. I mean, so Doc, how can so then why do you think people stay in toxic friendships?
Because the longer you stay in that kind of relationship, you get used to the abuse. And there's research that shows that the victim of abuse begins to feel less and less and less good about themselves. And they think they're not enough.
The
They're
Stockholm syndrome almost. You're in love with your captor.
exactly. And so they're afraid to leave for fear that no one will, be there for them. And they get stuck in it until very often what happens is the toxic person leaves and leaves them, with that whole garbage can full of horrible stuff that they dumped on them. And so very often someone will stay in that kind of relationship for fear of being abandoned, but they get worse and worse, and then the toxic person leaves. Other times, someone will come into therapy and work on it, and they begin to restore their self-esteem, and they have to, build up the strength to decide how to back out.
Yeah.
Is the person willing to go to a counselor with them? Probably not. Uh, do they back out slowly? It's probably a good idea because otherwise they're going to get attacked. Um, and it's time to make some new friends and do
It's tough.
things
Sorry, go ahead.
do things you like doing, even if go for walks by yourself.
Yeah, that's tough though, right? Because humans, more than likely, right? Most human beings don't want to be alone. They don't, and friends are hard to come by. So the old saying, you're lucky if you have one good friend or maybe two. And so now one of your friends is you're gonna have to part ways. That might leave you with either no friends or
Right.
only one. Like, yeah, it's tough. I mean, I could see why people would stay in a bad, toxic relationship with a friend or even whatever, lovers and some of that. But yeah, friends, yeah, it's hard. I think that's probably also why people stay in bad
Right.
relationships because it's like friends are hard to come by, and it's like, oh,
And
this,
a warm body is better than nobody.
right, right. It's the devil, but yeah, it's and then Doc, I don't know, you have this too, where I know I've had this happen in my life, where I'm going on 50, and I don't know if this is a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing, but my opinion is, um, nothing lasts forever, and I don't even look at it as a loss or sad thing. Like I used to be close with certain friends, and we've drifted apart. No argument, nothing bad. It's just
Right.
we don't. But that friendship's over for the most part. And in a way, I'm sad, but then I say, you know what? No, what we had was good. It's like watching a movie or having a dinner. Okay, now the dinner's gone. Did I lose because the dinner's no longer in front of me? No, I got nourishment from it. Or I watched a movie. I leave the movie theater. I have nothing to show for it. Does that mean the movie was bad? No, I enjoyed the time, and now it's gone, and that's okay. Nothing lasts forever, and so I don't know. I mean, like for me, I'm okay with friends come and go, and it doesn't have to necessarily be a big fight blowout. Maybe we just drifted apart, and sometimes you drift back together again, or I don't know. I
Right.
think
There are swirls of connection, and sometimes we're together, and sometimes we drift apart. Sometimes
yeah,
we
and
stay apart, other times we come back.
right, and I have there's a and I'm probably botching this up, but there's a saying and I'm not Muslim, but friends of mine are, and there's a phrase that goes something like, "There is only one God, Allah," and you can make that to anything. There's only one God, there's only one Jesus, and I always remind myself of that when if I'm no longer close with a friend, or if I lose something or someone, or I don't get that account for my business, I remind myself, whoa, don't make this my God. My friends, I love them. They're not my Jesus, or they're not my Allah, or they're not my whatever, Buddha, whatever it is. But I always remind myself, like, they're not my God. My friends are not my God. My money is not my God. My car is not my God. My shoes are not my God. I am not my God. This is all going to end, so it kind of puts things in perspective. And it's not to say you shouldn't fight for your friends and want to be with your friends and nurture relationships, but this is like a diamond. It's rare. It's going to come. It's going to go. Nothing lasts forever. And so I try to remind myself, like, if a friend is toxic, it's better.
It's better for them also, because
Right.
if you're apart, chances are they might look at themselves for the first time. And
True. Right. Yeah. And I think sometimes, I don't know about you, Doc, but like, I think some people need like, well, I got to have a discussion. I got to have closure. Well, there was no big fight or anything. What do you mean closure? Like, just, I don't know. In my opinion, sometimes let bygones be bygones. It didn't work out and move on. I don't know that you have to have this big conference about it. I mean, sometimes you might have to have a big conference, but I think more often than not, like I've had a lot of problems with people and that we parted ways. But we didn't have a big event about it. It was just like, all right, well, then, I don't know. We're just not close anymore. I just, and I don't hate the person, but I think, I think a lot of people harbor ill will and hurt and pain when I don't think there should be ill will, hurt, and pain, especially if the person didn't break any laws. I mean, like what? They said something to you in 1978. Okay, cool. Like what are you going to do? I don't know. Like, anyways. Okay. So now I feel like you're my therapist, Doc.
So I want to say one other thing about that, which I think is interesting. We watch a bunch of different series. And so like right now we're watching Elemental, the modern day Sherlock Holmes one. Right. And we've watched a whole bunch. And at some point it's going to come to an end. And we've had other series we've watched. And when they end, there's a period of time that I feel like I lost a friend.
Right.
But I just loved watching it. But, it's kind of a tribute to the relationship that you had with those characters. With a friend, it's a tribute to the friend that you miss them. But you go on, you learn from it. You find new things about yourself by watching what these other people do. You could be a better friend, in the future. So it's all okay.
Yeah. And I'm not saying be flippant about it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not saying, oh, well, we're no longer friends. Screw them. F them. I don't care. I'm not saying that either. Right. When I say like nothing is your God, I'm just saying like you try your best. You fight for your friendships. You fight for your relationships. They're very important, no doubt. But at some point, if it's not working out, it's not your God. Like it's okay to let go. And that's that. Like I just yeah. So, anyways, but
even Sherlock and Watson and Joan Watson decided that they'd done it enough, and they didn't want to do any more of the series. So, even they had enough.
Right.
So,
exactly.
And they loved it. It was great.
Right. Exactly. Now, Doc, so how do you think one should get out of a toxic friendship? I know this is a very large question that's has different variables, but I mean, generally speaking, I mean, I don't know. How does someone kind of say goodbye to a toxic friendship?
So, and we were talking about that a little bit before. I think it's about really valuing yourself and realizing that you went through something that was painful, very uncomfortable, and probably not the best thing that ever happened to you, although there were really good moments. And you will have really good moments that you'll remember. Maybe some funny thing that you shared together, maybe a trip you went on, maybe, a time that you were walking your dogs and you felt a real connection about how you were animal. It could be anything, but it's time to let it go. And the best way to do that is to allow yourself to feel your feelings, rather than to say, oh, I shouldn't feel this. Maybe write about it. I think that journaling
is very powerful.
A very terrific thing to do. I think talking to other people about it. I think getting out of your own way. Don't get stuck in your room and, sleep for 47 hours, every 2 days. Get out.
Yeah.
Move, get exercise. I know you believe in this, but get exercise. It kind of cleanses your body and your soul. Join some groups, meet some new people.
Yeah. There's life out there. It's funny you mentioned that, people, sleeping for 47 hours or drinking their life away. And I think the retort to what you're saying, someone would say, well, I don't feel like it, Doc. Okay. I feel sad. I don't feel like going out. And my retort to them is, it's not about feeling. Get your ass up and get moving. And once you do, get out, walk, get up, go to the cafe, go to the church, the synagogue, the mosque, go to the community center, go to the party, whatever it is, get up, move. Then you'll feel better. but you can't wait
Absolutely.
for a feeling, because if you're going to wait to feel better, it's never going to come. So you have to, and I can tell, and we've all been through crap, Doc. I mean, I'm sure you too, me too. You know, like, yeah, you have to physically get up and make yourself move. I mean, and you will. The body is amazing. The mind body connection is amazing, and you will, you know. And then, of course, talk to people. I'm a big fan of BetterHelp.com, the therapy app. I tell people, if you got money for shoes, and you got money for the latest phone, you got money for the television, you got money for vacations, you got money to go see a therapist, and it's very inexpensive, relatively speaking, nowadays. And there's free help out there to talk to somebody. But get up, move. I'm sorry, Doc. Was there anything else that you wanted to add?
I just wanted to agree with you on the move thing. You cannot be depressed when you're exercising.
100%. We know that for a fact, because the body releases endorphins and chemicals that you have no control over. Once you move, the body releases the happy hormones. So, but you got to get up. You got to, and I get it. We've all been there. You're not the only person out there that's sad. Trust me. I've been through crap, and so has a Doc, Sharon, and everybody else. You're not the only human that's gone through death, destruction, horror. We've all been there. You know, I was going to say in closing, so where can we find your book to buy the book?
So it's 8 Signs of a Toxic Friendship. It's on Amazon.com. Look it up by its title. 8 is the number 8.
Yep.
And
I'll put the link. I'll put the link below, and the artwork will be on the show, later on. So there'll be a link below that people can check it out, and I highly recommend people check it out and read it. And Doc, you're very knowledgeable, and you're a good source for this topic, and it's so important. I mean, it's really the core of. I would say it's the meaning of life. The meaning of life is relationships. Period. That's it. I mean, so if we don't nurture those,
we're tribal, beings. We need other people, but we need the right people.
Correct. Yeah. And I think, too, Doc, maybe sometimes people feel obligated, right? I have to be their friend because, they're Christian and I'm Christian, or they're Jewish and I'm Jewish, or they're Muslim and I'm Muslim, or they're from Italy, I'm from Italy, or, our cousins are best friends, and what will my family say? Like, all these reasons, it's like, no one's saying to go beat the person up. You can be respectful and still be cordial, but you're just not going to be close anymore. Like, that's fair enough. I mean, no one would fault you for
Absolutely.
that. Yeah. So, Doc, anything in closing before we wrap up?
It's always a delight to talk to you, and thank you so much. This was fun.
Thank you, Doc. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, like, subscribe, check out the book. The link's going to be below. And thank you, Doc. Have a good rest of the day, everybody, and check back in for more great content coming up. Okay, I'm signing us out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye.